welcome to Life in Envelopes. I am Jennifer Bleecher. This channel is all about planning, budgeting, paying off debt, and my very exciting journey from full-time teacher to full-time Etsy shop owner and YouTuber. So if that is something that you think you would like to see, then please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you along on this journey. Today, I'm going to be using the Budget by Paycheck workbook by the Budget Mom and these category stickers from my friend Cara Jo Plans. I realized that I really don't need the weekly check-in. Here, let me show you. The way I'm doing my budget now with my cash envelopes, I really don't need this weekly check-in anymore. This was crucial when I wasn't doing cash envelopes because I needed to see like what I budgeted versus what I spent in my variable expenses, but it just has become kind of unnecessary now that I'm doing cash envelopes, which bums me out because I love supporting Ira. He's one of my favorite people, so I'm gonna have to check out his Etsy shop and see if there's anything else I could get to use from his shop. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay friends, today we're going to close out the month of October and we're going to start here with the expense tracker. The way I use her expense trackers is I do one expense tracker per week. It just works better for me that way to see things broken down by week. And then I color coordinate the categories. And over here, I put down how much we took out from the bank versus how much we actually spent. Because these categories are variable categories, so that amount might be different. Where my bills and debt, what I took from the bank is the actual amount I actually spent. But these ones vary. Okay, and then I use that information when we do the where did my money go, which we're going to do today because it is the end of the month. Let's take a look at the monthly spread and let's add all of this week's spending. Starting with bills, we didn't have any bills this week. Moving on to student loans, and I just noticed this is the wrong amount. We didn't spend $45 on student loans. We spent $40 on student loans. By the way, I often get asked about my erasable pens. They are in my Amazon storefront, which is linked in the description box below. Also, Cara Jo Plans is linked in the description box below, and there is a coupon code for her shop as well. Okay, so the student loan was $40, and that came out on the 25th. And that was it for debt payments this week. Okay, moving on to my variable expenses. Let's start with food. We had $110 to spend on food this week. We took that money out last week and put it in a cash envelope, and I can tell you we spent all of it. Okay, moving on to gas. This was a week where we didn't get gas. I didn't put any money aside for it and I didn't purchase it. I'm definitely ready now. I'm down to a quarter of a tank and that makes me nervous. When we set up next week, we will definitely need to make sure we have money for gas. Okay, moving on to miscellaneous. So we ended up, I didn't originally budget for this $200, but we ended up having a really good YouTube income. So I decided to take $200 of that and put it towards the freezer. So if you've been following along with us, there's been a whole freezer drama, like should we get a deep freezer, should we not get it, you know? So we ended up getting one and I ended up taking $200 out of our $1,000 cushion to pay for it, and I'm so excited because we can pay it back right away. So that's super exciting. So that's where that $200 came from. Spending money, we spent $45 on spending money. That's $20 for me, $20 for David, and $5 for Logan. Sinking funds, we don't do sinking funds this week, but we will be doing it for next week. So when we set up next week, which will be November, that first week of November, we will do sinking funds. This month, we were able to contribute $620 towards our sinking funds, which is really good for us. So that was exciting. Okay, and then the last one, savings. So on Thursdays, I do a savings challenge, and this week we saved $10. Okay, let's go to the Paycheck bill tracker for week 5. Okay, so our rollover was in fact $247. Etsy was $136, and YouTube was actually $347. So that was quite a bit more than I had budgeted for. So let's see all together how much that was. 247 plus 136 plus 347, $730. Okay, moving down to our fixed expenses. So these are our bills and our debts. For me, the difference between bills and debts are bills are things that are always going to exist, like water and power, and debts are things that will eventually be paid off. These are both debts. So student loan came out, and that was $40. The SUV did not come out because our first payment on it is not due until November. It's the first week of November, but November. So that's pretty cool. We didn't have to pay anything this month for that. Okay, so altogether we spent $40 on our bills. So $730 minus 40 is $690. Okay, moving on to our envelopes, our variable expenses. I spent $110 on food. Okay, I didn't spend anything on gas. On miscellaneous, I ended up spending $200. Spending was $45, and our savings challenge was $31. Wait a second. No, it wasn't. It was $10. I don't know where that $31 came from. That was funny. Okay. It was $10. Is that right, you guys? Yeah, I think, let's see, 32, 14. Yeah, okay, that's right. Okay, so let's see all together how much we put towards our variable expenses. $365. So we put $365 towards our variable expenses, so $690 minus $365. That is $325 that we have left over. Okay, coming up to sinking funds, we have $325. Again, we are not going to do it this week, we will do it next week. So we still have $325. When we come down to extra debt, it's the same thing. We're not putting any money towards it this week. Okay, moving on to rollover, and most of it's going to go towards sinking funds, but we'll decide that together once we get to next week and we set up the month. We'll see how much we want to put towards sinking funds because we only need $110 for sinking funds, so we could potentially use the extra money from here. We could use that to pay off extra debt or anything we want to do. So we can think about that and do that when we set up next week. Okay, so we're going to roll over all of that and we're going to spend all of that in week 1 somehow. Because I always do that at the end of the month. I take that total amount and I spend it all so that we start a new month with 0. Well, not 0. We start a new month with David's paycheck. Okay. So that's a total savings of $325, bringing our budget down to 0. Okay, so let's take a look at where our money went this month. Okay, I'm going to write down this rollover amount before I forget. It was $325. Okay, so we'll calculate the percent of income in just a moment. So our starting balance was $586. That's how much we rolled over at the end of last month. Our income this month, all together for everything, was $3,815. That's David's paycheck, my Etsy income, my YouTube income, the child tax credit, and yeah, that was it for sources of income this month. So all together we had $42.32 to work with. So looking at the difference, there's not a big difference in our spending, but okay, so for example, bills is exactly what we budgeted. Debt, was $115 off because our car payment didn't come out. Food, gas, miscellaneous spending, those were all exactly what we budgeted. For sinking funds, at the beginning of the month, I thought we were going to have $486 to work with, but we ended up having $620 to work with. So that was a positive difference of $134 that we could put towards sinking funds. For savings, I don't budget anything for savings, but we do savings challenges, and because of that, we were able to put away $81. And rollover, again, I'm not budgeting anything for that, but when we have it, it's great that we can roll it over. So these are all like positive things. We didn't overspend in any category. Okay, so percent of income. The way I calculate the percent of income is I take the amount, for example, for rollover, we had $325, and I divide that by the total monthly amount and then multiply it times 100. So divided by 4232 times 100, and that will give me my percentage. So 7.6, I'm going to round up to 8. So 8% of our budget went to rollover. Okay, so let's look at this month compared to last month. Okay, so starting with the change in income. So this month we made more money than we did last month. We made $211 more than we did the month before. So that is very exciting to see because last month we also had an increase. What was our increase last month? Last month we made $604 from the month before. So that's very cool. Okay, so here's where we break down our percentages for September, and here's where we broke down our percentages for October. The only thing I need to add is rollover. I had all the other information this morning, so I was able to fill all of that out. So 325 and 8%. Okay, so let's take a look at the difference between spending in these categories. So starting with debt, we're not going to look at the percent difference, we're going to look at the actual amount. So 1407 minus 1357, that is a $50 difference. So we paid $50 less towards debt this month. Looking at bills, 736 minus 723, we paid $13 less. So I think I'm going to do like this to let me know that it's a negative number. Is it negative or positive? We paid less, so it's negative, but negative is a good thing in this case. Okay, so 680 minus 667. So that's a positive difference of 13. So we spent $13 less this month in that category. Gas, we spent $5 more. Miscellaneous, oh, we spent a lot more in miscellaneous. $309. So we spent $309 more this month than we did last month. As we were making money throughout the month, I set aside money for things we needed. So we spent $50 on house stuff. We got like light bulbs and air filters. We spent $100 on back to school clothes for Logan, and we spent $200 on the freezer. So that's where all that came from. Spending money. So 225 minus 180. So we spent $45 more this month in that category. Sinking funds. $385. So we spent an extra $385 on our sinking funds this month. That was very exciting that we were able to do that. Okay, savings. Last month we saved 20, this month we saved 81. So we were able to save $61 more this month than we did last month. Rollover, we rolled over 586, and this time we're only rolling over 325. So that's a smaller amount. 261. So we have a smaller amount that we're rolling over this month. Okay, so that is it for October. Tomorrow I will be bringing you my November budget setup, and we will also get ready for week 1 in November. We will budget for week. So I hope you will all come back tomorrow and join me when we set up my November budget. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, will you please give it a thumbs up? And I will see you all again next time. Bye everyone.